What's up, guys? This is my movie review of The Man of Steel. Remember that 2006 Superman movie, Superman Returns, that starred Brandon Routh? Well, after seeing The Man of Steel, I just want to pretend that movie never existed. Now, don't get me wrong, Superman Returns wasn't a bad movie, but it just wasn't a good Superman movie either. It was just kind of just meh. Now Brandon Routh did a good job trying to imitate Christopher Reeve. He did a good job playing Clark Kent. My main issue with Brandon Routh is that the way he plays Superman was just kind of... He just made Superman look kind of wimpy. Now Henry Cavill, his Superman, I think he did a much better job playing as Superman compared to Brandon Routh. Because Brandon Routh, he looks like one of those kind of dudes that, even though Brandon Routh is not a small dude, he's actually pretty big, but he looks like one of them kind of guys that just can't fight. Like he can't fight his way out of a paper bag. He looked like one of those kind of guys that would probably get his butt kicked in a street fight if he ever got into a fight in real life. Whereas Henry Cavill looks like the type of person that could defend himself. He looks like he's pretty tough. And the way he played this Superman, I like this Superman better because he's actually more relatable. He acts more like a regular person. Now, basically in this review, there's gonna be some mild spoilers, but I'm not gonna give away too much, because I know a lot of you people haven't seen the movie, so I'm not gonna say how the movie ends or anything like that. I'm just gonna talk about the basic parts about the plot. Basically what you've seen in the trailers. Obviously it's gonna start off on Krypton, and this Krypton, the planet kind of reminded me of the planet that we saw on Avatar. There was like a lot of animals and stuff, and Krypton, looks like a futuristic society, advanced technology, and that's where you obviously are going to meet Jor-El and General Zod. Now Russell Crowe, his version of Jor-El was a lot more involved in the Superman movie compared to Marlon Brando in the old Superman movies. And Jor-El, Russell Crowe does a little bit of action in the beginning, and he obviously shows that, he's no pushover either. He can fight too. And but basically, when they send off, Kal-El to Earth, and when they get to Earth, the movie immediately it goes to Superman when he's a man, and basically all the scenes that you saw of him as a child, when he was a little kid, and then when he got a little bit older, those were all flashback scenes. And the basic part about the plot was it's just about Superman trying to hide who he is, trying to just blend in with society. He was just taking all these different jobs, traveling to different places, and he hears about this spaceship that they found somewhere in the Arctic. So he decides to go there looking for answers about who he is. And that's where he finds the ship, and he had this little symbol that his father had gave to him when he was a baby, and that's what activates the hologram of Jor-El. Now, one of my favorite parts of this movie was when Superman first puts on the suit and he learns how to fly. And at first, see, the part that you see in the trailer, that's not actually how it started off. He actually was jumping around kind of like the Hulk, doing like those super jumps. And then he did a super jump, and then he started flying. And then he couldn't fully control himself, so he fell back down and hit the ground pretty hard. And then that's when you see the part in the trailer when he closes his eyes and he kneels down and powers up. And then that's when he actually starts flying, and that's when he learned how to control it. And I really love this scene because he reacted the way anybody would react if they learned how to fly for the first time. He had a big smile on his face, and you could tell he was just happy, and he was flying all over the world and stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. The Christopher Reeve version of Superman is a classic, and they did. I'm glad that they didn't try to imitate Christopher Reeve and the way that Superman was. You know, Henry Cavill did his own thing with this Superman. You know, he wasn't trying to be like the nerdish Clark Kent, you know, throughout the movie. You know, he was just being himself. And shortly after this part, when he learns how to fly, that's when General Zod and Fiora and the other Kryptonians, they land on Earth. And I gotta say that, man, the action scenes in this movie are amazing. And one thing that really surprised me was that Fiora was, I knew that she was going to be dangerous, but she gave Superman a hard time. And I really love that Smallville battle because it was really intense, because the people on Earth, they didn't know who the enemy was, so they were attacking the bad Kryptonians, you know, Fiora and that other big guy, whoever that Kryptonian was. And they was also attacking Superman because they thought he was a threat as well. But after the fight in Smallville, that's when they realized that Superman was on their side and that he wasn't their enemy. As for the final battle, oh man, that was awesome. And the part I like, now this is a mild spoiler, it's just mild. Now this isn't, I'm not going to talk about the end of the movie, I'm just talking about something that happened during the fight with Superman and Zod. See, during this movie, Zod didn't fully know how to control his powers. So basically, he wasn't flying. Actually, Fiora wasn't flying either. She was just doing a lot of jumping. But there's a part during the fight at the end where General Zod tells Superman, he says something like that he was a trained fighter on planet Krypton, and then he told Superman, where did you learn how to fight? On a farm? And that's when he says something about how he trained his senses. And then he takes off his armor, and then he starts flying. So basically he figured out how to fly at the end of the movie. And then they started fighting some more, and it was just awesome to watch. As for the movie itself, The Man of Steel is 10 times better than that Superman Returns movie that we saw back in 2006. Way better. I was never bored in this movie. I liked how Superman was relatable. He wasn't a goody two-shoes Superman, like, because that's basically how he was in the original comics. He was just too perfect. And when you think about it, in today's society, I mean, who acts like that? Who acts super perfect? You know, never tells a lie, does everything the right way, never loses his temper. Nobody acts like that. But this Superman, you could tell he was struggling with his identity. Now, this is during the part before he put on the suit and decided to help out the world. You know, he was just struggling with who he was. You know, there was times in the movie where, you know, people were pissing him off, and it's like he wanted to do something about it, but he couldn't because he remembered what his father had told him about how the world wouldn't be ready for a person like him. And there's even a part in the movie where he's drinking a beer, which is something that you never would have saw Superman do in the comics. And I know the hardcore comic book fans, they'll probably nitpick about that part, but the way I see it, I like this version of Superman because he's more relatable. He acts like us. He's not super perfect. You know, there's times when he has to deal with a lot of the same things that a regular person has to deal with. You know, he's just trying his best to blend in, and he just acts like a regular person would. Now, one thing I will say, now I'm not trying to do a Marvel versus DC thing because I just like superhero movies. So it doesn't matter if it's DC or Marvel. You know, I like them both. So, but I know they got people out there that try to make a big rivalry between Marvel and DC. But I will say this: if the Avengers had to deal with the Kryptonian invasion on Earth, the Avengers would get slaughtered by the Kryptonians. I mean, seeing what these guys could do, Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, and Black Widow, they would get killed instantly. And the only Avengers that would put up a semi-decent fight would be Thor and the Hulk. Now, obviously, the Hulk was the strongest Avenger, but even the Hulk wouldn't last that long against these Kryptonians after seeing what they're capable of in this movie. So, overall, I think this movie, Man of Steel, is really good. You should go see it. If you have any questions about the movie, I'll be more than happy to answer them in the comments below. And another thing, don't let the reviews on these movie review websites like Rotten Tomatoes, don't let that discourage you from seeing a movie, because movie critics, they tend to be nitpicky. It's like they be looking for stuff to complain about. So go see the movie for yourself and then form your own opinion. Don't just read the reviews and then if they're not what you would expected, that you're not going to see the movie. Go see the movie and form your own opinion. So The Man of Steel was a good movie. From a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 9. I mean, the movie's not perfect, but it is a really good Superman movie in my opinion. And it just actually has me hungry to see more. I would definitely love to see a sequel. And from what I heard, that they are going to make a sequel. So that's good news. And that's all I got to say about that.